Moving on to our next 7-8 matchup, we have the Heat versus the Hawks. Uh, the Heat versus the Hawks, who have had playoff history in the past there. Last year, the Hawks had a dreadful series against the Heat. I'll get into that. But let's start off with Jimmy Butler guaranteeing a win. Basically saying, if I'm the player I am, and if I'm as good as I think I am, the league that knows how good I am, we should be able to beat the Atlanta Hawks. I should be able to go and face Boston and secure that date against Boston. Now, Jimmy Butler's my guy. Like, I love Jimmy Butler as a player. I love all his grittiness. I love where he came from, his story, all of that. And sometimes you got to have irrational confidence, right? Like, even when it's against the Hawks or whatever the case may be, for him to say that, guarantee a win and say, yo, we're going to face Boston. That's what we're going to do. And especially Pat Riley, the Miami Mafia, that behind him, that stoic leadership behind him, you can't help but feel like Jimmy Butler's going to cash in on that guarantee, right? Like, Jimmy Butler has proven to be a great playoff player, dog walk some teams. Of course, he had some blunders. I think there was against Milwaukee a little bit a couple years ago where he just looked out of it. He just looked out of it. But ultimately, he's been, especially with the Heat and especially with this iteration of Miami, you had Philadelphia, like, he's able to have big performances, step up and play against the top stars in the league, even though people don't think of him as on that level, more of a B-level player in the NBA, a secondary player in the NBA. In Miami, he has been able to lead that team past expectations, right? You have the coaching of Spo, you have Bam Adebayo, you have all these other guys that really just follow Jimmy Butler and lead by his example. And Jimmy Butler's like, yo, we're going to win. We're going to go out there. And he has been able to do that and proven that. And for him to guarantee a win like this, Atlanta got a little bit of drawing material on the writing on the chalkboard, right? Got something a little bit that could motivate you. You have been playing like crap all season, up and down, very mid. That could motivate them, and especially where the Miami Heat offense has been literally drudge. I think they're the lowest scoring team in the league. I think they're 25th in offensive rating, but they're second in the league on points allowed. Like, it's just an old school throwback team. They grind it out. They smother everything up, even though their offense isn't that great. They smother it up. They're very methodical offensively, but it's effective. They have 3 players with 20 points per game: Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero. Those are their scorers for their team. You know who they are. You know what you're getting from those guys every night. Bam Adebayo has been talking about being in the Defensive Player of the Year category. He does a lot of things for their defense that holds up. Jimmy Butler's a great two-way player, but Tyler Hero has been able to score this season, and to have that balance on offense a little bit there is great. To have Gabe Vincent that can contribute there a little bit. Tyler Hero, of course. Maybe we can see some emergence of Victor Oladipo. We could see something from Duncan Robinson. Maybe they can get those other guys to contribute. In a game like this, those guys can really step up and help their offense and really just give them a boost on that end, because we know what they're going to bring defensively. Miami's going to contest everything. They're going to be tough. They're not going to give away much, and we'll see what it is. But a big question mark that I have for the Miami Heat is the Kevin Love impact. He was obviously claimed on waivers there. Released by Cleveland, he already had a deal with Miami, and so far he's only been, 7-6 so far. So you're looking at that, and it's like, if Kevin Love can replicate anything that he was in Cleveland, right? I thought he was good in Cleveland, and then he just fell out of the rotation. He's able to spread the floor, rebound, but he's only shooting 29% from 3, which is something that a big dynamic that Miami needs, right? They need 3-point shooting. They need somebody that can stretch the floor. They need somebody that can rebound, kind of play pick and roll, pick and pop with Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, all these other guys here. And you look at the disappointing start that he's had in Miami. Maybe this is a refresh button. Maybe this is a reset button. They get a little break. Maybe he can kind of turn it on. A lot of guys from Miami can turn it on right now, like that they need, like a Duncan Robinson, who has been dreadful since that contract signed. Kyle Lowry, who has been in and out, has not been as effective. I think he's only shooting 40% on the season. So you're looking at the Miami Heat, and it's like, if they can just get these other guys to play well and contribute. They really haven't been able to contribute, but if they can get these other guys around them to help and impact that side of the ball, who knows? We'll see what happens with them, especially. And maybe they secure that date with Boston. Maybe Jimmy Butler is correct, but they need those other guys to step up, and they need to step up now, especially if they're moving forward in any series. especially against Miami. People are kind of dredging. Kendrick Perkins has said that he's dredging. He said if Boston faces Miami, he's picking Miami and all that shit. And then you got Bill Simmons, who's scared shitless of Miami, especially after last year. And I think people are realizing Jimmy Butler is a big time player, and especially in the playoffs, people have to realize that. And I think people are getting scared of that in Boston. And it's like, what are y'all scared of? We got one of the best teams in the league. Like, you guys should calm down. But especially if Miami's going to make a run here or make any stand, they need guys like Victor Oladipo. They need guys like Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry, especially all the guys that they invested all this money in to really step up and play. Tyler Hero has done what he's done. He's kind of like the East Coast Jordan Poole, right? He's going to score. He's going to get you buckets. He's sometimes inefficient, not great defensively, but he's going to score and get you some buckets. That's what they paid him for. That's what he does. So looking at that, we'll see what the Miami Heat are able to do. Moving on to the Atlanta side of things. Can they change their past history against Miami? I don't believe so. I really don't believe so. But especially after last year in the playoffs, where Trae Young was held. This was not the Trae Young that we seen go to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is not the Trae Young that we seen against New York or Philadelphia. This was a different Trae Young last year where they really just canceled him out. He only had 15 points, shot dreadful from the field. 30%. Like, it was bad. Like, Miami took him out of the game and really caused havoc. I think DeAndre Hunter was the only one that played well. I think he had 20 points and shot 55% from the field. Like, he was the only one that played well for Atlanta in a 4-1, a gentleman's sweep last year. So you're looking at that, looking at the standpoint of that, all the stuff around, excuse me, against Atlanta this year, where they just have been mid. Like, their records at home and on the road are basically the same. Their points given up, their points scored is basically the same. Like, they're just middle of the road, and especially when you thought that, of course, the firing of Nate McMillan, bringing in Quinn Snyder, and Quinn Snyder has been able to try to get Trae to relinquish the ball a little bit. And do I think that this is enough time for him to come in and implement that offense? I don't think so. I think it's going to take a year or maybe a year or whatever the case, how long Atlanta has with Trae Young. But they have been trying to get him off the ball, and that could open up stuff for him and Javonte Murray, of course, open up for the other guys and kind of create a Trae Young diversion. And Trae Young has had the ball in his hands his whole life. In college, he had the ball in his hands. In the first years in the league, he had the ball in his hands. So this is the first year that he's really had to play with another guy that can create off ball, create his own shot. This is the first time he's had to do that. So now that he doesn't have to do that, there has to be a little bit more movement in his offense, a little bit more setting screens, running off screens. Is he going to be able to do that? I don't know. I don't know if there's enough time to do that, but he definitely has to rely on Javonte Murray if they have a chance against the Hawks, especially this year, especially seeing how that was a main issue last year. So that's smart. I think it's smart of Quinn Snyder to do that and be like, yo, we got to get you off ball, man. We can't continue to have the ball in your hands, everybody locking on you. We have to kind of create some type of diversion. And when you look at this roster that has all these players, it's like you think this team would be better than what they are, and they just haven't been. They just haven't been able to do that. They have John Collins, Brogdon Bogdanovic, Clint Capella. They added Sadiq Bey at the trade deadline. Aaron Hall. Like, you got all these guys here that you're thinking should be able to contribute here. DeAndre Hunter. And they have just not been able to put it together. You know what I mean? And when you look at their defense, one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Offensively, they can score the ball, but they just can't stop a nosebleed. So this is going to be interesting to see how these two teams contrast each other, right? Like, Miami is terrible on the offensive side of the ball. They slow it down. They're slow. Where Atlanta plays fast, they're able to score, but they can't stop a nosebleed. Miami's really good on defense, so you're really getting definitely the opposite of these teams together. These matchups, their strengths and weaknesses, literally mirror each other. So it's like, at the end of the day, can they shock Miami? Can Atlanta shock Miami? There's a chance there, right? Like, if Atlanta gets enough stops, if they get enough rebounds, if Jimmy Butler has an off night, if they're able to slow down more of the Miami Heat offense, I can see in a world where they outgun Miami Heat because Miami just can't score. Miami's just not that type of team. They really gritted you up, really methodical, get into these type of games. And even though Atlanta looks lackluster, I do give them a better chance in this game than I give Timberwolves against the LA Lakers because of the ability to score, the ability to have a little bit more versatility. And they do have big men. They do have big men that can rebound and block shots. So it's like, we're looking here and it's like, do we really want to cancel Atlanta out as bad as they looked all year, as mid as they looked all year? I don't know, because Miami hasn't looked the greatest all year either. That's injuries. That's guys just having bad stretches. But can I sit there and be like, yo, I'm just giving Atlanta no shot? I give them a better shot than last year. And in one game situation, can happen. I know it's going to be tough. I think Miami's going to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Atlanta comes in and plays well and is able to shock the Miami Heat. Would not be shocked at all. Would not be shocked at all if that happens. But that will do it for this play-in episode. I will also be doing a play-in episode about the 9-10 matchups. I mean, the 10 and 11, the 9-10 matchups with the New Orleans Pelicans and Oklahoma City Thunder, as well as the Toronto Raptors versus the Chicago Bulls. I'll be looking into that in my next episode. That'll probably be up tomorrow as well as we look at ring takes, of course, with me, Brian, and Lewis, as we recap Raw and SmackDown and see the outfall from Vince McMahon coming back. We will get into that as well. But thank you for joining me on this episode, the short episode as a playoff preview. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as always. And I'll see you next time.